So, since it is 7 o'clock on Monday, May 1st, 2023, I will call this meeting of the Norton Finance Committee to order and do a roll call of attendees. Kevin.
Here.
Saw you. See you. Yes. Paula.
Here.
Steve.
Here.
Trace.
Here.
Sandy. Do not see Sandy. Joe.
Here.
Bill.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Cody. Zach.
Yes, present.
And I am here. So we'll look to see if Sandy and Cody come. Oh, there's Sandy. Sandy, we just called you for roll call, so I will note that you were, bless you, you were 1 minute late because you were sneezing. That is duly noted. Well, first I want to say, which I just did, but I don't know if Paul's on. I see his name, but I know you both were seeking other positions within the town, but selfishly, we're happy that you're still with us. So I'm sorry that your campaigns came to that, but we're glad to see your faces tonight because we wouldn't otherwise. So glad you're here. And let's see, anybody else on that I want to catch? All right, Mike.
All right. Hello, everyone. So the first item that I wanted to address was Article 12 on the warrant. I did bring it up at the select board meeting Thursday night. They emphasized it is strictly tie-in fees and any related fees with a tie-in. It does not affect us paying water, the water monthly bills or sewer bills. It's just the tie-ins fees.
All right, this is Article 12 on the annual.
Annual, correct.
Okay, any questions for Mike on Article 12?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Zach.
I thought that you weren't here, Bonnie, or Paula, you were on vacation. But the way we had left it with the water department is because there was a back and forth and there wasn't a consensus, and Bill can attest to this because he was running the meeting. They were going to go back to the Water and Sewer Commission and ask for a one-time exemption for the Town Hall and Senior Center, and that was kind of the compromise. Now, I haven't heard back from that. I don't know if they've had their meeting yet, but that's the way we left it at the last meeting. And Bill, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that sounds about right, that we added that into it. Now, I don't know whether they took it as something separate or as part of being part of Article 12. That I'm not sure.
Why wouldn't that have been considered as part of Article 12, Zach? Do you read it differently? I'm asking.
Well, I think the concern from the water department is, they're running on an enterprise account, and every time they hook up, it's additional burden to the taxpayer and so on and so forth. And I think everybody was going back and forth on the fence of what should we do here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the compromise was, okay, I think this was really about the Town Hall and Senior Center.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go back and get a one-time exception for the Senior Center and the Town Hall, and we would vote this as no action. And I think their meeting is this week. I don't think they've had their meeting yet. So I could get his name, Mike, Frank was going to go back to his Water and Sewer Commission and ask them if they would do a one-time exemption for the Town Hall and Senior Center, and possibly vote this as a no action item.
Bonnie, if I could, I think they meet on the 9th, May 9th.
So that is next week. Okay.
Madam Chair, I agree with Zach that was the kind of final proposal, and the way out for that was to try to just, they mentioned how they got the fees waived for their own sewer treatment plant and stuff, and that Mike said was hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings there and stuff, so, so do it on a case by case rather than having a blanket, because they do survive on their, enterprise funds.
Gotcha. Great, thank you for filling in the blanks for me, all of you. Any other questions? Anybody who was or wasn't there last Monday?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
are we intending to vote on this tonight or wait? I'm a little concerned that May 9th, by the time that meeting happens and we kind of come back around, we're coming pretty close up to town meeting. I'm wondering if we vote on this, and if we have to change it later or revote, we can, or great. Can you hear me?
I can. I heard you. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Can anybody else hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Joe might be having trouble. I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's we don't like to cut it close. In the past, we have opted not to cut it close. So if it was the pleasure of this board to take a vote tonight, that would be fine with me. I would go with the majority on that. And yeah.
Madam Chair.
Oh.
Oh, I was.
Ah! Oh, you're so feisty.
When does the warrant get printed with our recommendations? What's the deadline for that again?
Mike, is it 10 business days?
Either 7 or
today.
14, I'm looking.
It's today. Well, today would be 10, right? Because
Yeah.
it's the way.
Business days, yeah.
So if it's 7, then it's Thursday, or something around there.
Either way, it's not before, like they would be meeting after the fact, the water and sewer.
Yes.
Sorry about that. My computer just decided to reboot.
No problem. We saw you the whole time. I don't know what was going on. Right. So yeah, that falls in. Their meeting falls outside the window. Trace, go ahead.
So I was wondering if the fees for the tie-in were in the original build, the bid for the build. And if it was, where are those fees now going to go?
No, they actually pulled that out.
They pulled it out?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe where this came from. Any other questions? Joe, did you get to finish?
I don't know what the answer was. I lost all audio, and so
Remind me what you asked, and I'll tell you what I said.
if we were going to vote on this,
Oh. No, I said it was a good question, and I said it was really up to everyone else. I would be willing to wait. However, as Paula pointed out, you may have heard, I think you were back, the warrant is printed, we believe, by Thursday.
I can give you the timeline on that if you want.
Sure.
So the warrant will be posted May 4th, and then the warrant with your recommendations on May 8th.
The worst timing ever for this particular article. So yeah, it falls outside the 9th, their next meeting. We wouldn't find out about it till at the very earliest the next day. Is sort of too late, so we could vote on it now and change it. In the past, that has not been what this board wants to do. Typically, we have wanted to not have a meeting the night of town meeting in the cafeteria to make these determinations right before the meeting. So that is something we used to do years ago, but we don't anymore. But I mean, I'd be happy to hear from anybody about their opinion on that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Bill?
I think with the still unknown, I think we're almost better to vote no action.
Okay. Any other opinions to be shared?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Sandy?
So I'm just wondering, because one of the things that we were trying to get clarity on is what this was going to cost long-term, what other, projects it might apply to down the road that the water storage department might be concerned about. I would think if we voted in favor of the article, and that might give them a little more motivation to then work out something with Town Hall and Senior Center. If they didn't want it applied to, again, I'm not sure how they feel. If they feel it's going to be impacting them negatively, to have this article for every single building. If before the town meeting, even if we recommend it, if they come forward and say we're willing to waive the fees for the Town Hall and Senior Center as a compromise, certainly the townspeople could vote it down at that point. Versus if we don't do any action and they say they're not going to work out a deal with the Town Hall and Senior Center, then those are both going to have to pay, right? After.
Yes. Well, right. Any other thoughts?
Madam Chair, I think Sandy had a good point, and I think that might be the direction that I would think we should go, just to go ahead and cement it and be done with it.
So shall I take a roll call vote to ask whether or not folks would like to vote tonight, or vote? I guess we could just vote and then it would be clear who wanted to vote. Someone, you could speak now if you think it's not a good idea to vote tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paul.
just a couple questions for clarity. So were they not aware about the sewer and water tie-ins when planning the projects for the Town Hall and Senior Center? Not aware of the expenses for that?
Is that a question for Mike?
Mike, sorry.
They were aware of it, but they were of the opinion that when I was talking back and forth with Water and Sewer and mentioning about us waiving the permit fees for the water treatment plant, they felt confident that they would waive the fees for the town hall, but we haven't received any commitment to that. So if they did have to pay it, they'd have to take it out of the contingency funds.
Okay. So you wouldn't, if you did have to pay, you would take it out of contingency, you wouldn't have to go back to the town to ask for another debt exclusion or whatever added?
Right. Yeah, we have some ad alternates on both projects that something would have to come out of the alternates.
What are some of the alternates?
I know in the senior center, an industrial kitchen is one of the main ones, and a patio out back. With the town hall, it's an access road between the library and the parking lot. And there's two others, but I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. Video screen in the meeting room I know is one, and I forget what the third one is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Zach.
what is the schedule for this committee? Would this be the final meeting, or what's left to clean up?
I believe our last meeting, oh, Mike, you're about to speak. Go ahead.
On next Monday, we'll have to do collective bargaining agreements.
That answers that. I didn't know if it would be Wednesday or next week.
Sorry, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
could we possibly wait till Wednesday to meet instead of Monday and then vote on this then, knowing that, our recommendations would be printed beforehand, I guess, with no action, and maybe we could re-vote on it next Wednesday? Is that making sense?
So if you wanted to meet next Wednesday, that's fine with me, and it's up to you guys. And then if you were gonna do that, you wouldn't have to do anything on this right now.
Okay, so it doesn't have to have some sort of answer when you post it on the 8th. We can leave it blank, I mean.
Right.
Okay.
But Mike, if we leave it blank,
Yeah,
we still have to explain it to the townspeople.
Correct.
What our vote would be, and the booklets would be inconsistent with what we're voting on, which has always been that optic that I
Right.
struggle with.
yeah, the only thing you'd be able to do is, put some note on their action at town meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
I'm unhappy with the direction this has gone, and the reason for that is assumptions were made for leaving requests that people generally knew that there was going to be a fee for. And now we're kind of being forced to make a decision about, do we allow that assumption to stand, or do we make some other potential request suffer? I don't like being put in that position.
Because of the lack of information being,
The lack of information and just the assumption at the beginning of the project that, oh, well, they did it for this, so, you know, they'll do it for us too. I just don't like being put in that position at all. It makes me,
yeah,
I was gonna say upset, but it actually makes me angry. So,
yeah,
you know, I feel like we're being forced into something that we may not necessarily agree with.
I got you. Thanks, Joe. Well,
Madam Chair, can I just ask, I'm not sure that from the meetings I went to and yeah, I had to leave a few early, but I'm not sure that was the impression I got, that it was an assumption. It was just maybe a hope that it would, and then, you know, again, the budget is somewhat fluid in terms of having those alternates. That's why they're there. So I think, I even talked to one of the members on Saturday, and he didn't necessarily even know if it was in or out, because it wasn't really a big discussion point at meetings. I know one member in particular who is very, adamant that the town shouldn't have to pay, but I don't know that that's necessarily the entire board.
what I thought you were going to say, Joe, is that you were frustrated that it's been a week and we haven't been able to get an answer back from the Water Sewer Commission.
But it's more like, I understand what you're saying, Sandy, but like, when you're putting together a budget and trying to build a building, you don't put things or leave things out based on hope. You build the budget based on what you need.
Mhm.
And especially when you're asking for a debt exclusion and a vote of the entire town and so on, you don't leave those things out on a hope. I just think you build the budget based on what you know you're going to need, and if the decision is made later to waive the fee, great. Now you've got $75,000 or whatever it ends up being to put towards something else. You don't just, again, I'm going to say assume that everybody's going to be okay with just leaving it out. That's just my opinion. I'm happy to hear others and perhaps change mine, but it's going to be a hard row to hoe to change that opinion of mine.
And Bonnie,
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I'm just curious. I mean, obviously the select board put the article forward. Did they have conversations with the water department? If I'm rehashing an old meeting, then please stop me at this point. But I'm just curious why it got to this point, and now it's a struggle to move the article.
Mike, can you answer that?
I know that there have been no discussions with the Water and Sewer Commission at the select board meetings. I don't know what's happened at the Water and Sewer Commission meetings.
And then, Mike, what was the intent to put this article forward? Is it just that we feel towns shouldn't have to pay these kind of fees, being a town?
Yeah, I think the logic was, one, we didn't want to have to pay these fees for these projects, and two, with water, for example, the majority of people in town are tied into water, so they're paying for water. And so it's coming out of people's pockets one way or the other, so it just didn't seem to make sense that we charge people for a water tie-in fee. And, it's gonna come out of the taxes, it's gonna be added on to the debt exclusion. Or it's just part of the water budget and it's paid for by the ratepayers.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm in favor of moving the article as written.
Thanks, Steve. All right, well, any other thoughts to share about Article 12? Again, we can vote tonight, which I think probably makes sense. Given that we don't want to leave Bonnie up on the stage at town meeting having to potentially answer for all of it. But I will if need be. So
Madam Chair,
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I make a motion that we move Article 12 as written in the annual town meeting.
Second,
Okay. I have a motion and a second to recommend Article 12 as written in the warrant. So I will take a vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
Based on the info I have, I'm gonna have to say no.
Steve,
yes.
Grace,
Yes,
Sandy,
Yes.
Joe,
No,
Bill,
No.
Paul,
Yes.
Cody, he came late. Zach,
No.
I probably should have kept track of those. Did anyone?
I was gonna ask you that.
I'm gonna ask everyone to repeat their vote, so that we make sure it's accurate. Obviously, we're being recorded. So, Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Trace,
yes,
Sandy,
Yes.
Joe,
no,
Bill,
No.
Paul,
Yes.
and Zach. You were a no, and I am a yes. So that is well, I will see what the vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would be the sixth yes. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 no. So even without my vote, it is 5 to 4 yes to recommend Article 12.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes, Zach.
All right, can we ask that we just bring this back after we do hear from the, can we add this to an agenda after we do hear from the Water Sewer Commission?
So it sounds like we would like to have our next meeting or a final meeting, next meeting be May 10th. So that is after that water sewer meeting on the 9th. Does that work for everyone?
That's fine by me. Yeah, I don't know about everybody else.
Madam Chair, does that leave other articles then not voted on by the time it's posted?
Other than Article 12?
Yeah, I thought there was some other, what else do we have to vote on still before, not tonight, but at our next meeting?
The collective bargaining agreements.
Article 4 and 7.
So would those would be blank then, if we didn't, if we waited till that Wednesday to meet, correct?
Yes. Well, it depends. Are you taking action on Article 7 tonight?
That's what this one is.
That's for the town budget. So at the last meeting, the last budget to be voted is the school budget, and the recommendation was to contact the school department and let them know that the committee was willing to use the stabilization fund for $707,500, and if that was done, then the request was that the schools not come back in the fall looking for additional funds. And the school committee did not support that. So the question tonight is, do you want to approve the school budget as recommended, or do you want to add the stabilization funds?
Madam Chair, can I just speak to that?
Sure.
I did reach out to one of the school committee members after I got the email back from Dr. Valletta, just to get some clarity on the position, because actually that part of the video that was from that meeting was actually cut out on the Norton Media Center. So that I don't think it's that they are opposed. Obviously, they're not opposed to getting money now. I think it's just to say in the fall for them to not say that they need anything if they did truly need something. And that's not to say that they're going to, they've never demanded anything. It's always been the recommendation of the town manager and then the finance committee to town meeting. That's been the vote that I guess matters, so to speak. So it's not that they were opposed to the idea of it. It's just that they weren't willing to say in the fall, if there was a real need for something, that they would just stay quiet and not share that need. I think it's almost, in hindsight, I don't know that the question is really one for the school committee. I think it'd be more for us as finance committee to say, if we are in favor of doing this, then we would just make it clear that this would, as we said at our last meeting, this would be instead of the free cash money, and that they shouldn't plan on, for their budgeting process when they're doing layoffs or whatever they need to do to make their budget balance, they certainly shouldn't plan on getting any more money in the fall or expect to get any more money in the fall. So for me, I still stand by, I thought Zach's compromise was a great one. It guarantees them the money now, as many people said, just so they can avoid layoffs. Obviously, if any department asks us for something in the fall, that doesn't mean we're going to vote to approve that. And then that doesn't necessarily mean the schools would even ask for anything. It's just they didn't want to have their hands tied or to say, I think they want the public to know, right, that they have needs that are not being met. Whether the townspeople or we vote for that or not, to not say, just to keep quiet and say that they don't have any needs is not really a true statement on their part, if that makes sense. Hopefully I explained it correctly, but.
Thank you, Sandy. That is my understanding as well.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Zach.
Sandy, that video was taken down and it's been put back up with that section there, and I advise everybody to watch it. To be honest with you, my personal view is it was somewhat offensive to this committee because one of the senior members of the school committee said it's not the FinCom's business to tell us what we can have. The town meeting decides the finances, and it sounds to me like their intention. Everybody can watch the meeting. Sounds to me like the school superintendent was supportive of the compromise. But some of the senior members at least one senior member of the school committee was not, and thought it was a hostage situation on our part. But watch the video, it's on there, it's on the media center, come up with your own conclusion. My view is the FinCom does not have a printing press. All we can do is make recommendations. We have X amount of dollars, and we have 20,000 people. We try to divide it responsibly, to everybody else. If their intention, and again, come up with your own conclusion, is to raise the stabilization fund at town meeting, then, I wish them the best of luck. That's up to the townsfolk. But for me, I would support the 2% that was original budget. and they can do as they please.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Steve?
and Zach, I watched the video as well, and I took it the same way, so I'm in complete agreement with you. I think we basically go with the recommendation as written. A lot of work went into that. I don't think we should be the one pulling additional funds, especially in a $30 million budget where it's known in the past where they can pull money from other resources to cover things. So I'm in favor of voting on the budget the way it has been proposed.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Bill, go ahead.
I'll start by saying I did not watch the video. But I know last week, I had mentioned we should be funding mandates. And I thought Zach gave us the out to fund the mandates. And, our take it now and don't ask later shouldn't have been taken as a threat, but I think they took it that way, or at least a few people did. That's not what the intention was. It was to try to help.
Mm-hmm.
But if we now have an email saying thanks but no thanks,
Mm-hmm.
then I agree with Steve and Zach that, we tried. We're on record as trying. We're on record as thinking outside the box, I'd almost say. And it was turned down. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
just move forward as was recommended by the town manager.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Sandy.
I don't think that, it was clear that the money wasn't turned down, right? It was just the response was they couldn't promise that they wouldn't ask for more in the fall. I feel like this was, because it was all, third person, Mike talked to Joe, who talked to the school committee. I feel like if we could have all gotten in the same room together,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would have been a different conversation. And I'd hate to just say out of spite, I'm gonna take my ball and go home and forget you can't have any money now. And that's what I feel like we're doing right now, is saying because they misunderstood, because maybe the response was not the thank you that we were all hoping for or expecting, that now we're gonna take it was a great solution, Zach. I don't think that's changed. I think we could very easily say, we're going to give you this money now, and we will not approve any money in the fall. That's our right as finance committee members to say that, and doesn't matter what any department asks for. I know lots of departments asked this time around for budgets that were much larger than what the town manager recommended and what we ultimately approved. I don't think we are holding it against any of them for asking for more, for stating what their needs were. I don't think we should hold it against the school committee for making clear what their needs are, and what's going unfunded, and what the townspeople, repeatedly have through votes to turn down overrides and everything else, what the consequences of those decisions have been.
Madam Chair?
I'm just going to add in 1 second, guys, before Steve and I believe Kevin. I did reach out to Dan Sheedy to see if he felt as though, since he and I did not communicate about it as chairs, I just wanted to reach out to him to make sure, as I had heard from a couple of different people, that it was communicated to them a certain way, and so I wanted to find out if there were any lingering feelings or was any room for more discussion. And so did they want to come to a meeting this week? And there was still time to post that today, if we were to say meet this Wednesday. And so I proposed that, and because they had a board change this week, and he did reach out to the rest of the committee and to Dr. Bayetta, and he said today that he was still gathering feedback, but he didn't think that they, one, would be able to pull a joint meeting together, and two, that they didn't think there would be a different outcome in the conversation, that maybe it would sort of smooth over the miscommunication or the misunderstanding, which was helpful for him to know. But that they felt that they would still, he wrote, sorry, if we get the 700,000 now, we can have sped mandates covered for the year, but we'll still have general education cuts. If we get this money now, we would not be able to ask for anything in the fall as we've done in the past. We don't have the money now. We have to sped from general funds, and we'll have significant layoffs and likely cost the town in unemployment numbers. So I did propose it as a joint meeting proposition, and they just decided that that wasn't the route that they wanted to go for this week. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation, since obviously then you all have more information. So I'm not sure, Kevin or Steve, who was first. Kevin, I don't think you've said anything on this one yet. Do you want to weigh in? And then, of course, Steve, you can go next.
Well, we keep saying miscommunication, and I don't know what exactly isn't clear, as opposed to a proposal was set up that there's just not a consensus or unanimous agreement on. And so I don't know if miscommunication is a fair characterization, as so much as, the line in the sand's been drawn, people are getting entrenched, and there's I don't know if resentment's the right word, but there's not a middle ground that's been reached with everybody. So I don't even feel that miscommunication is a fair representation of what's going on.
All right, Steve?
And just in similar lines, it's disappointing to hear that people are interpreting us voting on the proposed budget as line in the sand. I would agree. I don't think there's miscommunication. I think we're looking at a budget that is being presented fairly with a lot of thought. And I think that's what we should be moving forward at this point.
Okay, I see Cody has joined us.
Madam Chair.
Right, 7:37, Cody. Yes, Zach.
So, I mean, the proposal that we gave him, Mike had 2% in his budget. Adding that 700,000 would have given him 4% in the budget. That is more than a fair share of, what we're doing. I mean, we don't have the money. And, like I said before, I have a child in school, just like a lot of other people here. We all want our best for the children. We want them to have the best education possible. But I also teach my kid fairness. And, this town needs to realize we spend 8 out of 10 every dollars, 80%. When you figure in fixed and shared expenses, debt service of the schools, you're spending 80% plus of the budget on education in this town. So to say we're shortchanging them, we don't have the money. They can come and just because the state throws in 10 more mandates doesn't mean we have a printing press. I mean, I'm not one, I believe in fairness. I mean, we spend 80% on education, and listen, 1/2 on 1% of the seniors, the largest group in town. The largest group in town gets 1/2 of 1% of the budget. So the school has mandates, and I don't want to be rude or, that's up to them to take it to the taxpayer town and make a case and say, we don't have enough revenue. We need an override, whatever it may be. This committee has no power to do that. We are not a political organization. We are simply some volunteers that say, how do we divide up the money that we have fairly? We have 20,000 people to represent. We have 2,000 and change in students. We need to represent the entire community.
Well said.
All right. I would say that it's somewhere between 70 and 80%, from what I understand in terms of the percentage of the budget, but I do believe that that is consistent with other towns in the Commonwealth, who operate under Prop 2.5. So, who all operate under Prop 2.5. So, it is consistent with what other towns spend on education as compared to their other departments. Any other thoughts to share?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Cody.
Just for what it's worth, I know that we look at percentages of population, and I don't personally view a percentage of the population as a determining factor of what is fair. When you have 2,000 kids that are mandated, that has to be in school by law every single day, 5 days a week, and you've got 400 and some odd full-time employees that have to support that system, it's not fair to say, you know, we spend so much more on kids than we do on seniors or anybody else in town. We have to spend it, and I wish the percentage was lower because we had more tax revenue to spend on the other stuff. But, you know, the bottom line, the way I see it is, it's the largest employer in town. It's, you know, mandatory attendance, you know, mandatory spending, state mandates on minimums that we have to spend. So it's kind of a false equivalence in my opinion, that we're taking a percent of the population and determining that there should be more equitable spend percentage-wise on, say, the seniors or anybody else. That's just my opinion on it, and I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison to look at it that way.
Thanks, Cody.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
I 100% agree with Cody on that. Also, you know, this comes down to the unfunded mandates. It's beyond the control of the school. And if the senior center or any other department in town had unfunded mandates, personally, I'd want to be having the same conversation about using rainy day funds for it. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I just goes to say back to Zach when you were talking about what's fair. I think you're right. Your proposal was fair. I don't know that that's. I guess I don't understand why that's changed now, just because of a response that you saw. It's still what we thought as a FinCom. The majority of us felt was a fair compromise. I still think it's a fair compromise. It gives it's what's in the best interest for our students, for our town. I don't know why that would change just based on that we didn't get the response necessarily from the school committee that we were hoping for. I still think, again, it's up to us to make it clear that there will not be any more funds available in the fall for the schools. This is what we're giving you now, and it's still what's in the best interest for everybody.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Bill.
I'm going to go back to, I thought we all went above and beyond to come up with a solution. But I think historically, through the years I've been on this committee, that if the management of a department says no, we don't override that. And that's kind of what we're doing here in my interpretation. Is we offered something, they said no thanks, but no thanks. Nowhere did I read, well, yes, that money will be great, but we can't commit to nothing in September, October. It was more like just no. And in that sense, it's, they know how to run what they need to run. And if they're saying no, why should we override their no?
And I think too, the reason that we delayed this conversation and the vote to today was to ask for their opinion. And ask for them to weigh in. We really wanted them to sort of be in the driver's seat as far as making that determination, like what was best for them. I mean, we're asking them, what's best for you to still have to take or to make cuts for general ed now? We know that we're not asking them and that to make an easy decision either. We're not faced with an easy decision to determine how to do it. And they're not faced with an easy decision about how to do it once they're given the money, whether it's now or later. So I think the intention behind it was what was miscommunicated, to your point earlier, Kevin, is that it was intended to be, we're trying to give you the department the option of making this decision, and we will support that. And they had a conversation about it. which was on camera and then was shown and not shown, and I have not seen it. But just in my conversation with Dan and seeing the email from Dr. Bennett, they did have a conversation about it. They have come back with a response to that proposal. And that is perhaps what we should take under advisement, is that response. So I think this is by no means an easy conversation or decision, and I think we've really clearly laid that out in all the meetings and conversation we have had about this. And it's unfortunate that we find ourselves sort of seeming to battle with each other when really it's the unfunded mandates that created this whole problem in the first place. It is not our mismanagement of funds. It is not any other town departments, and it is certainly not the school departments. So I just want to recognize that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Zach.
it sounds to me, and like I said, you watch the video, come up with your own conclusion. Their intention is to take it to town meeting, override this committee if they can, and get 3/4 votes to take whatever they want out of the stabilization account. That's the way it comes off on the video to me. Again, watch it yourself, come up with your own opinions. But for me, like I said before, I agree with Bill, and I would support the 2% that we originally had in the budget. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm not sure, Bill, you said that they turned down, I mean, the last sentence was, I hope the outcome will be to maintain using stabilization. So they certainly weren't turning down the offer to use stabilization. And that was in Dr. Vietta's email.
Madam Chair, through you.
Yep.
That it sounded to me again, Sandy, by watching that, and like I said, watch it yourself. Joe is supportive of our plan. It's a couple of the senior, at least one of the senior members of the. I think Joe is disappointed that they turned down the deal. Personally, that's my opinion on it. But again, watch it for yourself. I mean, Joe said, that's why he made those comments on there. And also, Bonnie, Dan was not at that meeting of the school committee either, so
Okay.
he's getting a second hit as well.
Sure. Yeah, and I think he's trying to pull together information outside of a meeting. So he's just trying to weigh in everybody's thoughts, which, much like any board in town, there's typically not a 100% consensus. So he's doing his best. Sorry, was that you, Sandy?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Zach, did they take a vote, and do you know what the vote was? Was it unanimous?
No, the one vocal member of the committee said, if you guys want to vote me down 4-1, that's fine. But they did not take a vote. No, it was basically one person that was, and one other agreeing with again.
So I guess then my follow-up is then wouldn't we defer to what the department chair, right, the superintendent was looking for, as opposed to the board? I mean, we typically go to the department chairs versus the boards.
For me, that's fine. But my underlying concern here is we protect the credit rating of the town. If they're going to grab it now and then go after more stabilization funds or more funds in the fall, putting this town in a worse situation by crashing its credit rating, that's a serious concern. That would be, pretty delinquent on our part to even have anything to do with that. That's my concern. Not giving them the money. That's why I came up with that compromise. I thought it was a fair compromise.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Kevin.
I worry about, and I don't know if this is precedent setting or not, but isn't the underlying, precedent that any department that ultimately disagrees with the decisions circumvents the process and just takes it to town meeting and goes to stabilization? Or there's a mandate component here that other departments aren't faced with, but I think the optics of it is dangerous as well.
I'm actually rereading Dan's message and may have misinterpreted it. So I just want to read it again. He said, still gathering feedback, and with having a new member, we may not be able to get to a joint meeting this week. I did get an email that essentially says, if we get the 700,000 now, we can have sped mandates covered for the year, but we'll still have gen ed cuts. If we get this money now, we would not ask for anything in the fall as we have done in the past. If we do not have the money now, we have to fund sped from general funds, and we'll have significant layoffs and will likely cost the town in the unemployment numbers. So rereading that, and correct me if any of you hear something differently, it sounds like in favor of the 700K, which I know this is from a different person who wasn't at the meeting that everyone has been referencing, but if we get it now, we can cover the sped mandates and not ask for anything in the fall, and we don't get them, we will have to fund sped from general funds and still have significant layoffs that cost the town money. To me, sounds like a willingness to use that money that way.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Bill.
can that email be part of the minutes?
Sure.
Madam Chair, my concern is that's one of the 5 members' opinions only. There was no vote taken or anything, so it sounded to me like there was definitely a undercurrent that they're gonna come back in the fall and still try to get some of the general ed money that they're short as well. So I don't think the 707 is the end of it. I think they're gonna come back and look for some additional funding. And even if it's out of free cash, we're looking to try to put the money back into the stabilization to build that back up. So I'm just not sure. I didn't see the meeting, so I don't have a comment on the actual meeting itself. Just from what you just read, though, that's one person's opinion out of the 5. So
I don't believe it is actually. He is the chair, and that's why I contacted him as chair. And he was gathering feedback from the rest of the committee and representing that to me. So that because that's what I asked him to do.
but there was no vote, right? No formal vote.
It doesn't sound like there was at the school committee meeting. This was from his impressions from the school committee at noon today.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Steve.
I just worry that, we're interpreting an interpretation, right? And we're gonna vote on potentially what we're interpreting and what side discussion we had, and we know what we have in front of us. We have, I think, a fiscally prudent presentation from the town manager with a number that we can afford from that adheres to our fiscal policy.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Steve. Yes, Bill.
in the wish to not debate this back and forth all evening,
Appreciate that.
I'm going to eventually recommend that we just move the article, as the town manager recommended. But before I say that, or before I, get to that point, we do have a meeting on the 10th. It will look incredibly messy, but we can reconsider.
Mhm.
So if we can get a little more clarity to this back and forth,
Mhm.
then maybe we bring it back to reconsider. But at this point, yeah, we're all kind of interpreting, what people saw, what people, heard, this person, that person.
Yep.
I think we just move kind of to what Steve just said, move to what we have in front of us. And since we still have another meeting, at least one, if not 2, then we can reconsider if need be.
We can do that. And to Paul's point, we also whatever we were faced with in the fall, this committee, assuming it's comprised of the same individuals, would be able to weigh all of the things that were discussed here. All of us will have this memory of this discussion and how extensive it was, and if something were presented to us that we felt like wasn't consistent with the understanding that we had in the spring, then we would be able to discuss that and vote accordingly in the fall for whatever was requested, if anything. So, you know, we all understand that their concern is not asking for anything means saying that if they have some other really huge expense come down the line that they won't be able to do anything for it, and what will they do then? And I understand that concern. So, I'm just wondering if before it's proposed, before it's moved, if there's any other discussion.
Madam Chair, can I just mention one other thing before Bill makes his motion? I just think also a lot's been put into you know, this one-time windfall of a insurance rebate that, you know, insurance holiday that we got, and we got $1 million coming back and whatever it is, and everybody's, you know, chomping at the bit to get a grasp of this money. That is an incredibly bad fiscal policy. If we are waiting on a one-time deal to fund the general government or the schools or anything else, that is incredibly bad policy. That money should be first in your stabilization fund. You know, if it's not your 5%, do something for the community as a one-time deal, but to put that into general funds and say, okay, we're gonna use that for pick a department. You've already started the next year $1 million in the hole, because that money's not gonna be there the following year. You're already $1 million behind. That is just, and everybody's chomping at the bit, oh, we got this windfall. Let's get them. You know, this is like trying to, you know, balance your household budget on a tax return.
Right, and I think
Any financial sense.
yeah, and I think we say that every fall when we add $600 from free cash to our budget for the following fiscal year. So we know, and I totally agree with you. It is poor fiscal policy, and unfortunately, the 11 of us are faced with having to make decisions that are misaligned with good fiscal policy because of this situation the town is in financially. It is not fun. That's what the last hour, 45 minutes has taught me. It just reminds me of being in that position. Any other comments before we entertain a motion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Joe.
So I've listened carefully to all the conversations, and I think I've changed my mind about 4 times during that conversation. But I think what it comes down to for me at the moment is I don't want to make a decision that is potentially going against what the chair of a different department goes on based on what amounts to a game of telephone. So I'm going to go with, basically say that I agree with Bill that we should, you know, go with the motion as presented, and we can revisit it if necessary.
And I will say that I can, that I feel like I'm sort of in the same boat at this point, having had this discussion and sort of wavered a little bit in my thinking just because it's such a difficult one. We can invite the school committee to come to our next, and Dr. Miranda, to come to our May 10th meeting. And, you know, we can invite them to have a conversation with us then, after having voted tonight. So, like you said, it could be messy, and we don't like messy, especially me. We'll be explaining the messiness on the town meeting floor, but we can. So, yeah, I just want to know if there's any final thoughts, because I think we've said a lot.
Madam Chair, just a question. So we're meeting Monday. Isn't that still within the time frame to get the our recommendation printed, or get our recommendation in the final? I'm wondering, can we wait to vote until then?
Are we meeting Monday and Wednesday?
One, I think you're just meeting Wednesday, and 2, if you met on Monday night, it would be beyond business hours, so you wouldn't be able to post it anyways.
Right. So we're already past the window, whether we meet Monday night or Wednesday night or both. And so the thinking was have one meeting, not 2, and have it be Wednesday, the 10th, if I'm hearing everything correctly. Okay. So, I'm going to say that we probably have, this has run its course for tonight, but I do think that, like I said, I'm going to invite the school committee to come and Dr. Bayetta to come to our May 10th meeting. So, seeing that, we've come to the conclusion of this conversation. The chair will entertain a vote or entertain a motion to recommend Article 13.
If
Seven.
if I can, I think you might want to vote to recommend the school budget of $33,998,943 first, and then I'll give you the numbers so you have all the different funding sources for the motion for the budget itself, the article.
Okay, could you read that school department number one more time?
A lot of
30.
threes.
$33,998, $998,943.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Madam
Madam Chair,
Chair?
Oh,
Go ahead, Paula.
I was gonna make a motion. Is that what you were doing? Madam Chair, I make a motion to recommend the school budget of $33,998,943.
Second?
I hear a motion and a second for the amount for the school department budget. I will take a roll call vote on that. Kevin?
That's Mike's number, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes,
Yes.
Sandy? Joe?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I too am a yes. That's 11. Now the funding sources?
Okay, so for article, what did we say, 7 or 8? I don't have it in front of me.
Paula said 7. I listened to Paula.
Okay, so you'd be voting to recommend a budget of $69,258,186. $66,333,154 to be raised and appropriated. From water receipts, $529,826. From sewer receipts, $164,947. From the Hicks Fund, $200,000. From ambulance receipts, $850,000. Septic betterments, $35,000. Dog fund, $10,000. Debt exclusion premium, $11,218. Wetlands protection, $5,000. And free cash, $1,119,041.
I am so glad I'm not Paula.
What was that last one, Mike? I didn't get the very last one you just said.
1,119,000.
Free cash, $1,119,041.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Paul.
Mike, did that include the adjustment for the library?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Zach?
and the final free cash balance, Mike, would be after all this?
$465,610.
Ten sources.
Hey, Madam Chair.
You ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, so
We'll have
I
to
am
make a motion
make a,
first.
okay, I
And
made the
then you're
motion.
gonna read the whole thing?
If that's what I have to do, I will.
I suppose that's what we have to do. Go right ahead.
I make a motion to recommend the Town of Norton budget of $69,258,186 and the amount of $66,333,154 to be raised and appropriated. $529,826 from water receipts, $164,947 from sewer receipts, $200,000 from the Hicks Fund, $850,000 from ambulance receipts, $35,000 from septic betterments, $10,000 from the dog fund, $11,218 from the debt exclusion, $5,000 from wetlands, and $1,119,041 from free cash.
Second?
Thank you. I will take a roll call vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Trace,
yes,
Sandy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
and I too am a yes. It's unanimous. Where are we now?
I think we're done.
It happens so abruptly sometimes, and this is one of those times.
And are you working on the report to town meeting, Bonnie?
Of course I am. It's all I think
Oh,
about.
you didn't
Madam
put
Chair,
that-
do we
you didn't
still
put
have
that off
article-
to Paula too?
No, that will be Paula.
Okay.
Madam
I
Chair,
did it in place.
do
Yes,
we still
Paula.
have Article 4, collective bargaining agreements?
That's the one that they just got voted on Thursday, I believe Mike said, and so they have to still be worked out or written. And so that's the one we needed to wait till next Monday to do. So
Got
we're
it.
going to do it at the Wednesday, the 10th meeting.
Okay.
Thank
And a
you.
report is due, sorry,
When is the report due, Mike? Paula would like to know.
we need deadlines.
The report is due, I don't,
Yesterday.
Steve, I thought you were taking that then. You seem to know the deadline.
I've had my trick on that one.
I'm sure you have.
I don't know when the report is due. I think we just have it for
Don't worry
town
about
meeting,
that.
but I'll get back to you, Paula, tomorrow.
Sure.
Got to be on top of her. She's a slimy one. All right, so everyone heard that we're meeting on the 10th. Town meeting is the 15th, which of course you're not required to go to, but it's nice to see all your smiling faces. And you have a differing opinion than what is presented to the town. You're of course welcome to share it as a resident of this town. I wanted to just note, because I don't think we formally noted it, not that I think anyone really from this committee has taken the opportunity to consult with legal counsel independently of the chair or anything else, but the select board did distribute a new town legal counsel request policy that if there's anything that we would like to ask of town council, that we go through, I believe it's through the select board to request that. And so that it's not, sort of the town council is not being accessed from a number of different points without any decision or determination made of what's necessary and what's not, and we can hopefully cut down on the legal fees that the town has charged. The other thing I just wanted to mention, so you can make your plans out, do we have any children of members that are graduating the class of 23 this year? Folks who are already planning to go to graduation. Well, it is June 1st, which is a Thursday. It is at 6:00 p.m. at the Xfinity Center. And you are all my +10, apparently, because I received this in the mailbox today. So I just wanted to let everybody know that as a member of the FinCom, you're invited. And there's tens of thousands of seats there, right? So, or not tens of thousands, thousands of seats. So you don't have to clamor for one. We do have the 2 sets of minutes. Oh, Mike is waving. He's taking
Bye.
this opportunity to wave.
Thank
We
you.
have thank you, Mike. We do have the 2 sets of minutes from, I believe it's May 31st, 22 and March 20th, 23, that we could discuss now, which I think would be a good idea. So let's start with May 31st. Does anyone have any comments or thoughts on the minutes as they were written by our recording secretary? Okay. Seeing and hearing what appears to be none, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the minutes for May 31st, 2022 as written.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paula?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 31st, 2022 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Joe. All right, Kevin?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Trace?
Abstain.
Sandy?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Am I abstaining? Is that one of the ones that we weren't at, Tracy?
Yes. I love that you're asking Tracy if you're abstaining, but yes, you may abstain. There's plenty of us here. No problem. Cody?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I too am a yes. So that is 9 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 abstentions. The next set of minutes is March 20th of this year. Looks the only person absent was Paula. Do we have any? Oh, Paula, you're in deep trouble because of that. We'll discuss that later. Just kidding. Any questions or comments on? Oh, we have another tiny member of the finance committee. Little bouquet. Do we have any comments or questions about March 20th, 2023 minutes? Very long night.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Joe.
are we worrying about minor typographical errors?
Mhm.
Okay, so I am on page, I don't even know what page it is because they're not numbered. Page 5, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. And again, this is minor. It says Mr. Unit stated is based on the employee's salary. It should just be it is based, and that's very picky uni OCD.
I don't see it, but I don't know if I'm looking at the right page. The paragraph starts, Mr. Units.
Yeah, Mr. Units stated.
I don't know if this printed correctly. Let's see.
Under unemployment budget and miscellaneous budget.
Thank you. Ah. Hmm. It is. Got it. I think that's page 4, but thank you.
Oh, Word is telling me it's 5, so pick it up with Microsoft.
Word lied. Any other comments for the minutes of March 20th, 2023? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of March 20th, 2023.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paula.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for March 20th, 2023 as amended.
Second.
Joe, did you say second?
I did.
Thank you. Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
Abstain.
Steve,
Yes.
Trace,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
and I too am a yes. So that is 10 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 abstention. Anything else to come before the board this evening?
Hi everyone, how y'all doing?
Good, Peter. Caught us right at the tail end.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paul.
I sent you a direct chat.
I did see it. Thank you. I was distracted, but I will look at it right now. Thank you.
Yep. And I will try.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We still love you, Paul.
Yay, Peter.
Of course we do. All right. Seeing no other comments, questions, or business, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:15 p.m.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paul.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Always a lot of seconds for that. Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Trace,
Yeah,
Sandy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
and I too am a yes. That is 11 and unanimous. Enjoy your vacation, Paul. I don't see you.
Good night, everybody.